Hey, what's going on, YouTube? So we're nearing the end of phase two of Brink of War for my server, and then obviously after that we'll have phase three, which is the donation phase. How dumb is that? But obviously at the end of that, the new KVK begins. So only a couple days into the new KVK, for the G2 servers, but that's the largest server pool. And so today we're going to bring a video on the things you need to do in these last couple of days in Home Kingdom before the season starts, as well as the things you need to do in the new KVK as soon as it starts, because starting well is obviously very important in every KVK. Okay, and we're going to start by looking at some of the key events when the KVK begins, and we'll take a look at the Augur Stone here. And it's pretty standard here. The second event is the Darkling event. Standard stuff here. Basically, the Darkling event sets the timing for the rest of the season, because almost every event is going to begin 12 hours after the Darkling event ends. And the Darkling events, it's the one event that basically you ended by completing the task, right? All the other events essentially end when the timer runs out, but the Darkling event ends when you kill as a basically a KVK 40,000 Darkling patrols, or at the end of 24 hours like this, G1 server, they failed to kill the 40,000 Darkling patrols. Okay, now every alliance, every alliance grouping is going to have to decide for themselves, how they want to play this. Do they want to try and rush these Darklings down, or do they want to slow roll it, right, and give it as much time as possible? If you're KVK, if your group decides that like it's in your advantage to slow roll this, then you have a lot more breathing room. But if you're one of the groups that wants to rush this down, basically kill these 40,000 Darkling patrols as quickly as possible, then it's very important that you set up for this, because you're going to need a lot of command points, a lot of CP for that. And we'll talk through some strategies to maximize that out later on. The other thing that I always want to look at when a new KVK begins is basically when does the real PvP occur. So you look at the fourth event here, the time is now. This opens the level 1 passes, 12 hours after it's ended. But the level 1 passes, those are only the statue zones. That's some fun, but that's not the real PvP. What you're really looking for here is War in the Wilderness, 12 hours after this ends. Then you'll get the level 2 passes, and that's when the real PvP begins, at least to some extent. And you got all these, portals this season, so it's a little weird. Some alliances will be fighting fully in Zone 2. Some alliances will only be able to portal in for a limited extent. We'll see how that plays out. But the War in the Wilderness, the 6th Augur Stone event, that is the key mark. That's when the real PvP begins. And so before we take a look at the policies, we're going to take just a very quick look at artifact variants here, just so you can get a basic of idea how this works. And basically, as the season progresses, more and more of these unlock. And at every level, you have 5 choices, one for each unit type, so like infantry, cav, archers, mages. And the 5th one's always kind of a universal variant. So if you don't have these, you can always go for the universal. And the universal is going to cost you some prestige to create. And there's also some other specific unit type artifacts as we progress that cost prestige to create, okay? The prestige starts at 50,000 per artifact, but every level you go up, it goes up by an additional 50,000. So you look at the second level here, same pattern, right? Infantry, cav, archers, and mages. Universal now costs 100,000. As we get to the third level, we can see that we have unique artifacts, right? This is a unique tank artifact, a unique cat artifact, standard archer, standard mage, and now it's 150k, all right? And so just plan for that going forward. I think you're going to have enough prestige by the time these unlock, but make sure you do have enough if you want to create one of these artifacts. Okay, and a very important consideration is always how you want to play the policies. The policies look pretty similar to some previous seasons. A couple of changes here and there, but nothing too major. The first level, this is a choose one scenario, and we're going to have 2 strategies for this. I'm going to go over the standard strategy first. All right, the top level, we get CP recovery, okay. Second level, prestige gain, that's nice, but I think you want Wellspring of Vigor for your fighting accounts. You need that extra stamina, so that's what we would choose there. Second level, military expansion, no, pretty standard. And then the top level, we get a prestige reduction to those artifact crafting. I mean, that's okay. I'm certainly going to get that, but it's probably not a priority. Okay, next level, standard healing stuff. Pretty standard here. We've seen resource windfall once time before. Remember, this is the trap. I mean, you'll take this eventually, but don't take it earlier. There are better prestige dumps than this. Skip this to start with. Okay. Next level, this is actually pretty interesting. It deals with the portals, and you have a chance to either increase your movement speed for basically 3 minutes after you go through a portal, or basically get like a make way effect after you go through a portal. And so the question you're going to ask is, hey, am I going to be fighting close to my portal? Or is my portal going to get camped by the enemy? Or am I going through the portal and having to travel a while to get to the front lines? And basically, like, if you have to travel a while, obviously you take Miraculous Haste. And if you're going to be fighting right at the portal, that's why you take, unhindered movement. Next level is pretty standard. We've seen this before. Do we want elixir capacity or production speed? I'm going to take production speed for, my main account. Same level, kind of the same thing, but for resource healing. Like I said, I always resource heal, but not like all the time, only during the heavy fighting. So I actually tend to take stockpile days for the resource healing. Next level, pretty standard again. We have the Buried Bones. We have the Make Way policy. Don't love that, but it's back. And then we have Bane for Blood. This is the second trap. This, you can spend prestige to get a temporary reduction in CP cost when you rally Dark Forts and kill Darklings. Again, this is not your good prestige dump. Only take this after you're done with everything else. Okay, next level, counter infantry or counter cav. Just your decision. I think I'll take counter infantry this season. Kuma is just dominating the battlefield. Kind of same thing at the bottom. Do I want counter magic or counter marksman? Up to you. No real right or wrong answers there. This is sort of the policies that deal with the extra artifact. And do you want extra merits from the artifact? 5%? Or do you want to reduce the artifact skill cooldown by 10%? I think this is just plainly better. The extra merits, I don't need extra merits. I want the artifact skill cooldown 10%. 10% is not huge, but it is beneficial. So I think everyone probably should take time management. Okay, next level, pretty standard. More troops and more warrants. Love that. Okay, same thing here. Nothing new here. Do we want benevolence, reprieve, or diligence? At this point, I think most strong accounts, you need to take diligence just for the stamina bonus. Maybe your alt account, if you are fighting that, you take reprieve. And benevolence, if you get this far, this is for your farm accounts. Okay, Light the Beacon, better rallies, Captain the Guard, better garrisons, no issues there. Then we get to the last healthcare choice. Top level, once again, medical supplies, that's just a flat increase, whereas healthcare reforms is the percentage-based increase. Most strong accounts are going to want healthcare reforms. Only a very weak new account would want the flat medical supplies. Same thing, it's the same choice, but with resource healing, most strong accounts want medical seminars. All right, bitter end, same thing here. And at the end, we have private practice. We can spend prestige to gain elixir. This is the good elixir dump. When you have that final Dragon Zone fight, that's when you can cash in all that extra prestige you've built out across the season. So this is awesome. And then Palliative Care, you get extra elixir every time you have a unit die. Now that we have the return in which we get the vast majority of our troops back at the end of the season, I think a lot more people are going to have more dead troops, and so Palliative Care, nice thing to get. Okay, so I'll put a card right after this showing my recommended choices for each of these levels. And like I said, a few of these levels, like the counter infantry, counter cav, counter marksman, counter magic, there's no right or wrong answer there. So, vary as you want to. Okay, so here's the alternate strategy, right? What you do is you max out Spread the Word to start the season. And then you basically, you wait through the first few events, and in particular, like the Darkling event, if you're going to search those down, you kill as many Darklings, Dark Forts as you can. And with Spread the Word maxed out, you get a bunch of extra prestige. And then right before that 6th event begins, you reset everything, and now you've maxed out Wellspring of Vigor instead. Okay. The reason this is potentially a big advantage for you is it maximizes your prestige, but at the cost of time, right? Because since you reset everything, 5 or 6 days into the season, you've lost those 5 or 6 days of, policy research, if you will. But because we can now use research speed ups to on policies, time is much less important than it used to be. Your major limiting factor is prestige. And so by maxing out Spread the Word, you can work on your major limiting factor at the beginning allowing you to get more of these policies unlocked when the real PvP begins. Obviously, you need to spend some research speedups to make this happen. You can also spend gems if you want. But if you're like a player like me that's, finished my research a long time ago, I have all these research speedups. What am I going to do with them? I think I am going to try this strategy for the start of the season. Okay, and so we'll close with a few last tips, things you should do right now, or really things you shouldn't do right now, in order to get as good a start as possible when the KVK begins, okay? And we'll start with a pretty obvious one. Don't buy the basic CP recovery from the VIP store until the KVK begins, right? The first time you enter the KVK, all the CP is going to be wiped, so don't buy it now. Pretty obvious, pretty standard strategy for a lot of seasons now. Okay. Okay, second thing in the in your merit store, don't buy any CP in the merit store if you're lucky enough to get any. You see I didn't get any here. And don't buy the elixir until you've entered the KVK, right? Same deal here. Now the daily merit store, do whatever you want until the KVK begins, but the weekly merit store, first don't refresh it until the KVK begins. And second, after the KVK begins, refresh it, buy the CP, buy the elixir. The warrants, they're a little bit optional. In the KVK, there'll be higher level Darklings and Dark Pets. And so, like, on average, the warrant will perform ever so slightly better in the, in the KVK versus your home kingdom. But the difference is pretty trivial there. But save the elixir, save the CP until you get into the KVK. All right, third thing, again, standard advice. Right when the KVK begins, before you go into the KVK server, while you're still in Home Kingdom, go kill the acolytes near your dragon, near the other high-level magma demons, and try and get a CP recovery stone, because that's going to be especially valuable to you when the season begins, okay? All right, the acolytes, that's not a huge deal, but it is helpful. Something else that can be helpful is Titan's Legacy. When it starts, there are actually some CP bags on Titan's Legacy. And so you want to put yourself in a position to be able to do these quests as quickly as possible in order to get, farther along the rewards challenge. The main thing there is dark keys. So you want to save a few dark keys up so when the new season begins, you can open those 8 dark chests in a single week. Again, not a big deal, but just a small tip to help you out. Okay, so the last thing, and something that is new this season, is you have the prediction store. And in the prediction store, you can buy a decent amount of command point recoveries there. So this is the first time we're doing this, but with high confidence, don't buy these now, right? Buy these after the KVK begins. They should still be there, right? This is supposed to last another 25 days, so there's no reason these go away. If you have them in your inventory, they'll go away when the new season starts. But if they're not in your inventory, they should still be in the store, right? So don't buy these now, but be ready to buy them in a few days when the KVK starts. All right, hey, those are my tips for the new KVK. Look, obviously, you know how I feel about my KVK, not the greatest matchup, but, going to make the best of it, going to, try and have fun, and we'll see how it goes. And that's all I got for you today, and until next time, you stay classy, Belleron.